good bake.
I don't, that's my specialty.
Yeah, and we're live. I'd like to call the meeting to order for Monday, May 2nd, 2022. Can we have the call to order, please?
Candace Bouchard.
Jonathan Moorhart.
Candy Perez.
Josh Kelly.
Todd Archelashi,
Glenn Albanesius.
Stephen Sedlak.
Linda Grappo.
Jack Bork. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review. Anyone have anything? Can I have the approval of minutes for our regular meeting on April 18th?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
All second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any corrections or additions? All in favor? Opposed? And one extension.
Jack, right? Oh, that's right. Okay.
Citizens' comments. The Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes or less and may speak only once. Please give your name. John? All right, moving on to the town manager's report.
Thank you, Todd. Good evening, everybody. So at 508 Main Street, we are once again accepting proposals to make use of this space. Those proposals, if you're interested in submitting them, are due on Thursday, May 5th. That's this coming Thursday at noon. There is information about how to submit a proposal and what needs to be included in a proposal on the town manager's page on the website. Please see that if you are interested. With the American Rescue Plan Act, I do owe all of you an update on where all of those projects stand. Please be on the lookout for that between now and the next meeting. And later in May or early June, I hope to come to the board with a proposal on how to spend the remaining ARPA funds. For those of you who may recall, we have already received half of that funding, and we received that on July 1st of 2021, and we'll receive the second half on July 1st, 2022. But I do think that it would be helpful for us to have a plan in place before that funding is delivered to us. Regarding, this is just a reminder of a few different events, and actually you do have a sheet in your packet that outlines all of the different town meetings that are occurring. And all of the different budget-related events that are occurring in May. So May 9th, there will be, and that's next Monday, the annual town meeting. We're voting on the 2023 municipal budget. And then that would be sent to referendum if approved. That's being held at Gilbert High School. On May 16th, 2022, there will be a special town meeting that will be held at 7 o'clock as part of the regular Board of Selectmen meeting to approve approximately 1,200 acres of conservation easements being given to the state of Connecticut in exchange for $750,000. On May 24th, 2022, we will have a special town meeting related to the infrastructure bond. Information about that, a lot of information about the infrastructure bond can be found on our website, and I encourage anybody who's watching this online or anybody in the audience here with us today to please go online, learn more, and that meeting will be held at the Pearson School. And then on May 28th, that's a Saturday, the referendum will be held at Pearson School. I believe the vote is held 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that is to vote on both the municipal budget and the infrastructure bond, to vote or to approve or reject. Beyond that, we had a wonderful economic development event. Thank you to everybody who was able to come, in terms of the selectmen and everybody, if you're watching, anybody out in the community who was able to join us over at the American Mural Project, which is really coming along. My understanding is that that's going to open in June. That's very exciting for our community. It was great to see so many business owners, people related to our business community here in town come out to support each other, to hear more about what's happening in town, and to celebrate the successes that have been seen recently. And I've already mentioned this, but I'm just going to emphasize it again for good measure. There is a lot of information about the infrastructure package that we have posted on our website. If you have questions, factual questions that you'd like to have answered, you can also reach out to the town manager's office. My email address is on the website, as well as my phone number, or you can stop in during normal business hours into town hall, and I'm happy to discuss with anybody who would like to hear more. That's going to conclude my report for tonight. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Josh, I just put an update on the events that are coming up. You listed a whole bunch of them, but I'd like to just add to that. Monday, May 30th, the VFW parade starts at 11:30 at the west end of town, with the ceremony at the East End Park at the conclusion of the parade at the East End Park. So just add that to the May 30th activities, Monday, May 30th.
Absolutely.
Are we going to put these on the town website?
Yes. All of those dates are already posted in one place or another on the town website, and we'll make sure that the voting calendar is front and center on the landing page.
No questions for Josh? No additional questions? All right, moving on to correspondence. Anyone have anything? Boards and commissions?
Okay, thank you, Todd. We have a number of actions we're going to take tonight. First of all, if you look at the package, there are two names that we would like to raise for consideration for members of the Economic Development Commission. Tyler Tucker as an alternate member and Joseph Santoro as an as a alternate member. So we will begin the vetting process for both of those people and go to the nomination stage at our next meeting if everything goes well with that. We're going to make one appointment this evening that's not in your package. Jack, you have been in touch with Thomas Sullivan. Would you like to bring his name forward in nomination?
Sure. We understood that there was going to be a resignation on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Zoning Board of Appeals is already short one member, and if the board meets and they are only 4 members, then it has to be a unanimous vote in any decision they make. So it's important that they do have an alternate member standing by. Thomas Sullivan Jr. Has agreed and has entered some information to Steve, Josh, and myself about his interest in becoming an appointment to that board. And I guess, Steve, we can appoint him because there's an opening immediate?
There's an opening, there's a need, and the person has already been vetted. He recently became a member of the Soldiers Monument Commission.
Well, in the charter.
And the charter, so this is a person who's known to us, and I think it would be appropriate to go right to the appointment status.
If you so wish.
You
Do
have
we
a
know what his-
nomination?
Do we
I'll
know
make
which-
a nomination of Thomas Sullivan Jr. as an appointment to, I guess he would be fulfilling David Carter's resignation term, so his term would expire in December of 2025. Am I correct on that, Steve?
Yes.
What's his party? What's his party affiliation?
Oh, I'm sorry, he's a Democrat.
So is there a balanced board?
I believe so, because David,
He's switching for another Democrat?
was a Republican, I think his party affiliation.
David Carter was a Republican.
Yeah, but I think there's a balance on the board.
Well, if you're uncomfortable, we can do the nomination tonight and do the appointment at the next meeting.
Well, maybe I'll try looking up on the, why don't we table it for just later on in the meeting, and I'll look on the website?
Yeah, the website is not up to date, Candace. It's still showing our most recent appointment, Ron Dew, as an alternate, and Ron moved up to the permanent position.
So I have a spreadsheet, maybe it's on my phone if I can access it. Maybe that's more accurate. I don't know.
The spreadsheet would also have information about party affiliation, while the website, that particular web page does not have party ID.
Right, so why don't we just table that nomination for later on, and I'll look it up and see if I can find
If
it.
you want to forward it to me, I could look it up on the big screen, the spreadsheet. Unless you can see see it with the tiny.
So why don't you just, I would just table it till later on in the meeting, and you can continue with the other boards and commissions.
Mayor's call.
Yep, we can table it.
Thank you.
Okay, and so, also on this page, we have 4 reappointments that we're going to act on. And the first one is Jeffrey Lippincott, and I will move that we reappoint Jeffrey Lippincott as a member of the IWWC, a permanent member, a term to expire in April of 2027.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
I will also move to reappoint Stephen Molinelli as a member of the IWWC, as a permanent member, term to expire in April of '27.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Linda. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
And I will also move to reappoint Mary Ann Marino as a member of the IWWC, term to expire in April of 2027.
All second?
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
And lastly, I will move to reappoint Jill Fourier as a member of the Economic Development Commission, a term to expire in April of 2027.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Linda. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous?
And finally, I'd like to have our board recognize the resignation of 2 commission members and thank them for their service. I know they've both done yeoman work with their commissions, so would like to acknowledge Jim Welton resigning from the Economic Development Commission and David Carter resigning from the Zoning Board of Appeals.
All second?
We accept those with regret. Any update on the commission membership?
No, not yet, I haven't found it,
Okay,
sorry.
we'll move ahead to unfinished business while you're still looking at that. Anyone have anything? Moving on to new business. You approve the resolution for finance director authorizations.
Yes, and so we are through our transitionary period with our Director of Finance. Anne Marie's certainly taken the reins. You've seen her here at meetings. She's learned the ropes, and she's off and running. In order to, the final step of formalizing the transition is to make sure that she has access, as all of our directors of finance do, to each of the town bank accounts, to make deposits and withdrawals related specifically to the position. There is a resolution here that I'd be happy to read through if you would like me to, but I'm recommending to you that you adopt this resolution today, which will remove all others from the bank accounts, specifically former Director of Finance Bruce Stratford, and add Anne Marie Rowe to the town's bank accounts as a signer.
We have a motion?
I make a motion that the town adopt the resolution to approve, resolution to approval finance director authorization as presented in the Board of Selectmen's packet on May 2nd, 2022.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you, Candace. Is she bonded?
Yes, she is.
Josh, I have one question. Regarding the finance director's approval to sign checks and everything, are there double signatures still required?
Yes, they are.
And who's the other person?
Our treasurer, Cindy Rhines.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Proposed line item transfer?
So we have 3 different proposed transfers tonight. These are all intra-departmental transfers. The first one is related to the Recreation Department, and there are 2 sources, so it would be from $900 in property tax from Willow Street and from $10,000 in general labor to the maintenance of grounds account. That's $10,900 in total. And Tanya, our Director of Finance, has attached in an email to the back of this section of your packet a list of a few of the items that need tending to through maintenance of grounds. That includes electrical work at the bandstand. That includes on-deck circles for baseball and softball field, totaling over $1,000. And that also includes the boiler at the playground building. For those of you who may not recall, this past winter we had huge issues with the boiler at that site. Right now it's, for lack of a better way to put it, jerry-rigged to keep running. That was something that was done by our staff, given the fact that the parts for this boiler, it's so old, they are not manufactured anymore. There is no way to adequately replace the parts, given that those parts aren't manufactured anymore. And it's in need of a total replacement. We're estimating right now that it will cost between $10,000 and $13,000. So from this transfer, a portion of this transfer will go to help cover some of those costs, and there will be additional requests for transfers to help finish covering that total payment in the next couple of months. So it's my recommendation that you authorize this transfer in the Recreation Department of $10,900 to maintenance of grounds.
Do we have a motion?
I just have a question. Why is it that maintenance of grounds? Isn't it something else? The furnace isn't grounds.
I know that Tanya worked with our director, with our whole finance department on this, and it would be considered to be upkeep of buildings and grounds. It was their determination that this would be acceptable.
I have a question. Could you just explain what is no property tax incurred on Willow Street? What is that? I noticed that in the budget, and I'm curious.
So I'm a little curious about that too. That's something that I'm going to dig into a little bit more as to why that was in the budget in the first place. This is the last budget that I won't have actually helped to author myself, and honestly, I can't speak to it, to be honest. But I will find out more.
Great question. Do we have a motion?
I'll do it.
Okay, Candy?
I make a motion, the Board of Selectmen approve the line item transfer of $900 from property tax Willow Street 812-824-001 and $10,000 from general labor 812-194-0000 to maintenance of grounds 812-827-0000 in the amount of $10,900.
I will second.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on, next line item transfer.
Yes, this is another intra-departmental transfer, this being for the fire department, that's Department 211. And these are three different from lines, so that's contracted labor in the amount of $1,400, maintenance of office equipment in the amount of $1,000, and pay per call in the amount of $3,000, all being transferred into maintenance of equipment for $5,400. This, very bluntly, we've had multiple issues with the fire trucks. To underscore the need for a new ladder truck, I will mention that the ladder truck has been out multiple times this year, as recently as just 2 to 3 weeks ago, with electrical failures, and my understanding is hydraulic failures as well. So in order to cover those costs, as well as other costs related to the maintenance of equipment and ever-rising inflationary costs, some repairs being nearly twice as expensive as they would have been at another time, they're requesting a transfer of $5,400 into that maintenance of equipment line.
Do we have a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the line item transfer of $1,400 from contracted labor 211-832-0000, $1,000 from maintenance of office equipment 211-809-0000, $3,000 from pay per call 211-900-0006 to maintenance of equipment 211-826-0000 in the amount of $5,400.
Thank you, Jonathan. Do we have a second? Linda, thank you.
I have a question.
Jack?
Josh, if we take the 3,000 for pay per call, we still have 2 more months of coverage, how much money is that going to leave in the pay-per call?
Even with a three quarters of the way through the year projection, actually more than that at this point, 5/6 of the way through the year projection, Jamie's estimating that we'll still have an overrun in that
Okay.
line, to the
And
good.
Did I hear you mention that some of the maintenance of equipment is going to go to the ladder truck?
No, I was underscoring the fact that the ladder truck has actually been repaired ad nauseum this year. Over and
That's
over
the truck
again,
we're
there have
looking
been
to
failures.
replace.
And I'm underscoring exactly the need to replace that truck because it is costing us a fortune in repairs. It's at the end of its useful life and it's going to keep needing those repairs.
So this maintenance of equipment is not going to necessarily help the ladder truck, which if the referendum is approved, we'll get a new ladder truck.
Right. This particular transfer will not cover funds related to the repairs of the ladder truck, but we have spent a lot of money this year so far on keeping that ladder truck in service.
Fine, thank you. And Fire Chief Lagasse included an email, it's for
Yeah, I
Squad
saw that.
5.
Yep.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Moving on to refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenue.
Oh, sorry, there's one more transfer.
Okay.
And that is 22-23, for those of you who are looking for the number in their packet, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So this is an intra-departmental transfer in the Department of Public Works. That's Department 313, specifically from the cemeteries general labor line to the contracted service line. So my understanding is that just given the labor market right now, we are going to contract for the next few months for cemetery maintenance, whereas we may have otherwise had seasonal workers already hired to be able to do that work. So it's the same amount of money that we would have otherwise budgeted for this item, but we are requesting that we be able to contract this instead of hire somebody at this specific moment in time.
Last year, there were several complaints about cemetery maintenance as well, so
Need to get on it.
be right on top of it.
Absolutely.
Can we have a motion?
Yeah, I would move that the Board of Selectmen approve the line item transfer of $10,000 from general labor 313-194-0000 to contracted services 313-831-0000 in the amount of $10,000.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Candace. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Now we're moving on to the refunds as recommended by the Collector of Revenue.
Absolutely. And Hillary has kindly laid out a number of different refunds totaling $3,323.75 for a variety of different reasons, including overpayments, change of certificate, and duplicate payments. And I recommend that they all be authorized.
Can I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Selectmen authorize refunds recommended by the Collector of Revenues in the amount of $3,323.75.
I'll second. Thank you, Candace. Jack's got the second. Josh, with the software upgrades,
Yep.
will that be cutting down on these by any chance?
You know, that's one area of the software that I am not sure I can give an accurate answer on, but I can tell you that this is going to start to look a little different, at least in the future. Obviously, we want to cut down on these.
Feedback.
Sorry, my fault.
Sorry about that. We want to cut back on that as much as physically possible, just because this is, an inconvenience to the taxpayers that we're serving. So let me look into a little bit more what some of these features are going to do, and let me come back with a report next time on how that might impact.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Anywhere on the board and commission yet?
Almost there.
Okay, we'll move on to,
I was just gonna say, if you give me 45 seconds, I got a spreadsheet in the office, I can go.
Nah, I'm gonna beat you.
okay.
I just want to race. I done some racing. I already got two of them down.
Nate Sullivan is the third.
He's a Democrat. Troy Lemire is a Republican, we know that. So it's So the only one left is Mr. Stewart. And of course, he's not coming up on this side, but it's, whatever he is, it'll
He's
be balanced.
unaffiliated, so that's 2 Democrats, a Republican, and 2
Wait, what-
unaffiliated.
What board are we?
Board of Assessment Appeals.
A board
The
of,
zoning appeals.
zoning board of appeals.
Board,
Oh,
not assessment appeals.
well,
Stuart.
yeah, give me a different
Yeah,
list.
he is, because he's a,
All right, we're in the wrong list, so I'll do the
Sorry.
other one. All right.
all right, moving on to, item F, 22-25, consider on possible action on the adoption of a smoking and cannabis use restriction ordinance.
Todd, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So, several meetings ago, when there was a vote that was taken by the Board of Selectmen to recommend to our Planning and Zoning Commission that they adopt regulations that would permit cannabis in very specific areas around town. It was recommended by the Board of Selectmen at that time that I go out and seek language that could be used in an ordinance that would help curb the use of cannabis in our public areas. So I took that request from all of you. I saw some of the ordinances that were being put together by other towns, and for example, Torrington, right near us, is considering a very similar ordinance to this. I looked through our ordinances to see what is already covered and what is not already covered. I tried to seek as much input as I could in crafting this, and right now I can tell you that this draft ordinance, as it appears here, is in front of our town attorney, Kevin Nelligan, for review. It has not come back from Kevin Nelligan for review, so I do want to make sure all of you are aware that at your next meeting you will see an update from him. He was hoping to get it done by today, but we've had a number of other legal matters pending, and his attention has been well taken elsewhere. So by the end of this week, we will have more information from him about this ordinance and how he would like to see it tailored or changed in any way. Or he may in fact say that this is a great way to lay it out. But basically, this ordinance is focused on smoking and cannabis use, not possession. It's not focused on sales or anything to that extent, but it is focused on making sure that the use of smoking products, cannabis products, is not permitted within certain town restricted spaces. So as you read through this, I hope that you'll bear that in mind, that the real focus of this particular ordinance is on uses. There are penalties for offenses. These are all in line both with, I should say these are both in line with our charter and with the Connecticut general statutes that have recently been adopted. That includes a fine of no more than $100 for infractions that fall within specific general statutes for smoking in general. For cannabis infractions, the general statutes allow for not more than $50, and for those particular infractions, and a fine of not more than $1,000 for restaurants, and that's a fine levied against restaurants themselves, not individuals who are smoking at restaurants at which the infraction occurred, if smoking or cannabis use is occurring at one of those restaurants. So, and Section 2 outlines the various areas around town where the use of cannabis and smoking materials would be prohibited. I tried to be as inclusive as possible. I am certainly looking for feedback. I consider this to be, part one of a multi-part review process for this ordinance, in the hopes that we can get this adopted, and with the goal of getting this adopted before July 1st, when more of the general statutes that were adopted go into effect.
June 15th,
June 15th, yep.
because they have to be approved by June 15th in order for.
To go into
2 weeks
effect.
bef- July 1st.
Yep.
What about SB 120185? That protects the 25 feet from an open door for businesses, open door, vent, or window.
My understanding is that is, because it's a state statute, these other components of the ordinance as they've been written.
Are in addition to it.
Right, would be in addition to, and wouldn't be enforceable under state law. So the municipality has to actually elect to enact an ordinance around these items.
Right, so that
whereas
could be
the
added to
police
this.
could enact the state law, as you described, 25 feet from those businesses. would be enforceable already without the adoption of this ordinance.
But they couldn't enforce it unless we have an ordinance saying that.
No, my understanding is that they could,
Oh,
under the
okay.
state law as it's written. Let me confirm that for you.
But when we were doing something with another ordinance early on a few months ago, I remember the police chief saying if we had it in a local ordinance, it would be easier for him to give the ticket than using the state statute and all the ticket writing that they had to do there, so that he kind of wanted it in a dual place, if I remember correctly. I forgot what it was about.
And it's also alcohol is a $90 fine.
Yes, and so it is only legally permissible under SB 1201 to allow for $50 of a fine.
No, I know it is.
Yeah, but I
And
just
the
want to make
$100
sure that's on the record for the public. This is not any sort of political choice on our
Right,
part. This is
no.
not trying to be soft on one item and hard on another. That's just what the general
And other
statutes
towns
allow.
have 99 because it has to be under the $100.
That's right.
So we have 90 and 99 in another town, so. But
Josh, I'd like to just make sure Kevin and you clarify this. Under section 3, and this is the enforcement section, there's the last line that says the restaurant shall be responsible for enforcing this restriction.
Yep.
And then in the enforcement section 5, it says the Winstead Police Department shall be charged with enforcing. I don't know if that's conflicting or it should be clarified. Do the restaurants really get responsibility for enforcing this? Or is it the police, or is there a combination thereof? If Kevin could just clarify that for me, it would be helpful.
I think it's worded that way because of the violation, where the restaurant could be charged $1,000.
right.
Right,
So if they
failure.
didn't make an effort to curb the activity.
They can call the police if they
Right.
want to,
Right, and a
so that
failure.
they don't get fined.
Exactly. Failure for the restaurant to follow through on section 3 of this ordinance would result in a $1,000 fine. The restaurant wouldn't be levying the $1,000 fine, and nor would they be levying any fine. They would simply be telling people to remove themselves from the restaurant. And if they fail to do that, then the police would enforce with the $1,000 fine on the restaurant. So I see your confusion. We'll find some clarifying language.
All right,
but,
thank you, appreciate that.
Yep.
And you expect, we have to publish this too if we're gonna make this happen before June 10th, June
June
15th?
15th, we
That's
have to
true.
adopt
So we
this.
really should take action by our next meeting.
But I think we could take action tonight in the first step and sending it to Kevin Nelligan.
Right.
And so that we intend to, this is new, right?
Yes, it is totally new.
Not changing the smoking ordinance to fix this, right?
That's right. And,
Right.
and what I should also add, just as a quick aside, there are a number of smoking clauses that exist throughout all of the ordinances. Those are in different ordinances, all scattered around. This puts all of those smoking ordinances into one place, and later on we'll be able to go through the other ordinances and really clean up where all the other areas where that language appears. But I think it's important that it all exists in one place. Sorry to cut you off,
Oh,
Candy.
no, that's okay. So then I would make a motion that the Board of Selectmen make known our intention to establish an ordinance to restrict smoking and cannabis use, and that it go through our adoption steps, including review by our town attorney, Kevin Nelligan.
Thank you. Andy, is there a second?
There is a second, and let me explain why. The thing is, on the cannabis voting, I did vote against it, and now that it's come to this, I feel that this would be a great way to enforce people that use it inappropriately.
Thank you, Jonathan. Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Item G, 22-26, consider and possible act on the adoption of an ordinance establishing a fair rent commission.
And I know that there has already been some conversation out in the community. I've already received a couple messages asking for more information about this ordinance. So I'll just give a brief explanation, then I'll turn it over to the selectmen, who I know have a few points to make about it as well. So the Fair Rent Commission, this is something that's been able to be established by municipalities for decades at this point in time. There are over 20 different municipalities that already have a Fair Rent Commission. There are, my understanding, 2 different towns that are smaller than Winchester that have Fair Rent Commissions, and there are plenty that are larger. Some are what others would consider to be not very nice towns or cities, and others that are extremely nice towns and cities. So it really runs the gamut there. And the purpose of having a Fair Rent Commission is to ensure that as rents rise, and the state is really pushing for different municipalities, especially those with 25,000 residents or over, which generally suggests that they have an area of a dense urban population that is similar to Winstead. To make sure that those communities have rents that are rising in ways that make sure that landlords are putting money back into the facilities that they're running to make sure that they have healthy and safe housing. That's something that in the past here in Winstead I know that we haven't had. I think that we've been making strides, and I think that a Fair Rent Commission in the future would help to ensure that we continue to have that level of investment in healthy and safe housing. But with that, that's a little explanation as to why this is being brought forward. This is a particular time where the state, in this past session, or this current session, I should say, it's not quite over yet, has been pushing for legislation surrounding the establishment of Fair Rent Commissions. And it's my hope that the Board of Selectmen will act in a way that may allow for a Fair Rent Commission to be explored.
Candy?
Yeah, so with the state legislature pushing all of this out there, I looked at a lot of the parts of the Fair Rent Commission. And on the surface, I think we all agree that there should be fair rent. I mean, it should be fair to both sides, right? The renters and landlords, and that everything should move forward, everybody should have safe housing and whatnot. But what I'd like to recommend that we do, instead of establishing the formal commission right now, because I think there's a lot of things that we don't know. I know that there's budgetary issues within it in terms of, well, it's not direct funding by us, but it will end up with attorney's fees possibly, because this commission actually has a lot of actual power in terms of doing things. So what I'd like to recommend that happens is that we ask Josh, as our manager, to establish a little small, I guess you could call it a Fair Rent Committee, to explore this issue and look at the data that we have in town. We have a planning department that we're doing a little reorganizing with the position that Josh asked for in the budget. That department is responsible for inspections and making sure that things are healthy, and they've been able to, when things come to their attention, that they can go out and inspect it. We have a social services coordinator that we just recently moved to full-time, that I think it would be good, on a committee to have her there, but also maybe start doing educating of the public in terms of, what are renters, rights, because there seems to be a lot of that when I look on our social media posts. People are always concerned about that, whether it's a month, whether it's a lease and whatnot. And, and then look at the data. What is the data that would support something like this? We know that rental increases are nationwide, and we know that the rental increases, from what I see, was we now have hedge funds that have bought rental complexes. We have individual investors that have bought, numerous properties in many communities. We have individual investors turning these houses over. Just down the street from where I grew up, somebody just bought Mrs. T's house for an exorbitant sum of money. And in order for that person to make back their investment, they will have to raise those rents up a lot. So a lot of this is just a capitalistic investment that people are making that are causing these buildings or these houses to go up in rents, and we all want that to be fair, but I think we should probably start with a group of people that can work over maybe the next 6 months or so to take a real look at the issue and to really look at the data, like how many inspections do we normally do in a year on our side? How many of them are related to a rental thing? We know that 2 properties in town just got sold that asked people to leave. When they sell it, they asked people to leave, which ended up a lot of people being displaced because they couldn't afford something else. So to take all that information and bring it forward, especially because we're also doing that housing plan that's not finished yet, and that discussion is still ongoing. So if we made this little group include a realtor, include a landlord,
Fire marshal?
Sure, if it's
If he
fire
does the
marshal, yeah.
inspections.
Yeah, so include all those people in it, or whatever we all deem might be appropriate, and to kind of look at what is it that we're actually looking at, and how would this help solve it, and if it's important enough, then next year's budgetary issues can be taken care of.
I think that it should include fiscal issues that we may face with a commission as well. Explore those.
I applaud you for bringing this forward to us, for thinking about it, because certainly rental prices have created issues in town, and thank you for suggesting it. But as I read the information and I investigated a couple of other towns, I think we need to look at more study on this, and what are you suggesting, a committee to kind of go ahead, but I certainly wouldn't want that committee to be floating around for a long period of time before we get some feedback. And perhaps you, in your monthly reports, just tell us where we are, who you appointed, and then let's set a deadline for getting back. I don't want the community to think that we're not for this. I think outlining what this can do for renters as well as for landlords, because it also protects landlords, is an important step. But I'd like to see more study. I agree with you that committee is necessary here to just get some more study, but I'd like some feedback along the way of what you're finding out.
How about we set a date for November 1st for
A deadline for a
Deadline.
report, that would be great.
and November 1st is, I believe, 6 months.
Hopefully it's not Sunday or Saturday.
November 1st is a Tuesday.
Oh, good. Midnight.
Deadline. Okay.
Do we want a motion for setting up the committee?
I'll make a motion that we ask the town manager to set up a fair rent committee to look at the issues here locally and the data with it, and to report back to the Board of Selectmen by November 1st.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Any further discussion?
But we want monthly reports, not just one
Right.
report in
But
November.
not just Josh telling us the
Right,
progress.
right.
And I call it an ad hoc committee. So I probably should have said that, ad hoc.
Do you need suggestions on who to put on, or are you pretty well understood where I think, I think some of the people that you suggested as part of this, what would have been a commission would be good, a couple renters, a couple landlords.
Absolutely. So I think I have a great direction. If over the next couple of weeks, though, there are individual selectmen who have ideas on specific people who would be great to fill the roles, please pass the names along.
Do you think, and this is certainly a question that is going to come up, as Candy has pointed out, a lot of the bigger apartment buildings are being owned by people out of town. Do we want somebody on this study group committee who's from out of town? Does that matter to you?
I think that we need to have a considerable landlord presence on a review committee. Otherwise, I don't think that you as a Board of Selectmen are going to be able to trust the report that comes back to you. Personally, I think that the members of our committee should be individuals who are part of our community, and an active part of our community.
Fair enough. Any other comments, questions? All in favor? Thank you, unanimous. Item H, consider possible action on projects funded with state grants.
Mr. Mayor, I have no updates on this at this time, but I will follow up with the individual selectmen as time permits.
Thank you, Josh. Do we have any update on the commission?
If everything's correct on the voter records online, there's 3 unaffiliateds right now that sit on it and 1 Republican that sits on it. So adding the Democrat actually balances it.
So there'd be 3, 1, and 1?
Yes.
If you're,
So we've seconded it, right? So all we need to do is vote?
Do we have a second?
On the official appointment of Thomas?
Correct.
Yeah.
We'll wait 1 second.
no pressure, go ahead.
Jack made the motion, I don't have a second.
I would second that.
And let the record show it'll be 3 unaffiliated, 1 Republican, 1 Democrat. All in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
And I still believe that leaves, you could look, 1 vacancy still on that ZBA as an alternate? Did you see that
No, I
vacancy?
didn't.
We didn't look at that, but you're probably right.
I think there's still 1 vacancy there.
I want the group to know that every meeting we have, I have my folder with that chart in it. Tonight, I didn't bring it.
That's okay.
Citizens' comments, the Board of Selectmen welcomes public comments. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. You may speak once, please give your name.
John, we are.
John.
I just had one question. I'm for the ladder, but I just want to make sure we get a ladder fits in where it's got to go. I don't want any, have to tear down any walls or anything or make any modifications to the building. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. David? Selectmen's comments and reports.
Just want to say we had a great day doing Earth Day. We had a wonderful troop, 1027, who showed up and with their leader. I think there was about 10 or 15 of them. And then we had a great contingency from the, it's called Charlotte Strong. They're all branded in black, so that was the Hartford Healthcare Charlotte Hungerford group, and they had children with them from 4 to 8. It was really fun. I think we did about 40 bags. It was crazy. You can't even imagine that it's all there, but it was a fun day, and I think we all got a little sunburn too. Good pizza and from Monaco's and ABC. So thank you.
What else? Linda?
Just a reminder that May 21st is 3 Saturdays away. Plans are well underway for the 84th Annual Rotary Pet Parade. This year, the Winston Laurel Commission will join the parade along with celebration of Winchester's 250th anniversary. So save the date, May 21st, rain or shine. All information can be found on the town website. And this is another reminder to all Winston High School juniors and seniors. There's still time to submit your application for the 88th Annual Laurel Festival. Remember, this is an opportunity for scholarship. Generous local businesses and organizations are ready to sponsor you. So please get your application in this week. Forms are available at the town website and the Gilbert website. Thank you.
I just want to add to the 21st, there's a lot of activities that day. It's been posted on social media. We have flyers that are going out. I just want to make sure everybody on the board knows that there's a closing ceremony at 6:15 that night. You'll be getting an invitation for that soon. To close that, right after that, there's a great dance at the Winchester Grange. Before that, there's a picnic on the green. There'll be hot dogs and hamburgers free for the kids.
Ham radio.
And the ham, yes, and the ham radios that our civil preparedness uses too will be there doing a demonstration. There'll be a book talk at the library that day.
Senior breakfast.
And senior breakfast. The day before, there's going to be a senior dance in the parking lot. And the day before that, there's Winston Trivia that will be hosted. And then following, later on in June, will be the Laurel Ball, along with the
Fun Fest?
Kids Fun Fest for everybody, and we'll close out all our ceremonies. But please look for those around town. We hope a lot of people will come, as it is the end of our 250, well, I guess we'll be starting our 251st year, so everybody come on out.
Well, I'm not gonna be here and not talk about Soldiers Monument.
There you go, sir.
I sent you all some information about the next 6 months of activities. I hope you can attend some of those activities, but I think the important one is certainly September 11th, the rededication of the monument. It was originally dedicated on September 11th, 1890, and that date, September 11th, was used because it was the September 11th date in 1861 that soldiers mustered in around here into the Civil War. So that's why it was rededicated, or it was dedicated, the monument itself, on September 11th, 1890. As I've mentioned earlier, the parade, the VFW parade, is on Monday the 30th with a ceremony in the park at the conclusion of the parade, and the monument will be open that day. And on June 19th, we're having a picnic, the open grounds, and we're having a band that day. So a lot of activity going on at the Soldiers Monument. And we'd like to support people coming up and saying, this is a pretty historic place. We take good care of it.
All right, just two quick announcements, both taking place tomorrow, Tuesday, May 3rd at 10 a.m. here in the Town Hall Hicks Room. Chief Fitzgerald will be swearing in his newest police officer. I'm going to butcher his name, but Officer Abdullah Shravamikel, possibly. He's being sworn in tomorrow, 10 a.m. in the chambers, and the public is welcome. Also, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., also in this room, will be the first of two public hearings for the Charter Revision Commission. It'll be at 7 p.m. And they are looking for public comment on the charges that they were given by the board. Steve?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
So Linda and Candace and Josh, Thursday. What's your one in the morning you said you had?
I have a 10 o'clock, but if needed, I can change the leadership team meeting.
We had 4:10, he was available.
So, can you all meet like at 8:30?
8:30 Thursday morning?